All right, good morning. Welcome to the Thursday, November 12th, Michigan State Transportation Commission meeting. I think the first thing I'm supposed to do here is a roll call. And when I ask, I ask you to state where you physically are as part of the act. And Troy, stop me if I'm doing this incorrectly. So I will start.
You are, Mr. Chairman.
What's that, Troy?
You are correct. Under Public Act 228 of 2020 that allows us to meet virtually, you need to start the meeting with a roll call, and each of the commissioners need to state their geographical location for the minutes of the meeting.
All right, I'll go first, and then each of you just follow my lead. This is Todd Wyatt, and I am physically located today in Charlevoix, Michigan. Commissioner Hayes?
This is Mike Hayes, and I am physically located in Midland, Michigan.
Commissioner Zierup?
This is Commissioner Helen Zierup, and I am in Holland, Michigan.
Commissioner Yatuma?
Good morning. This is Commissioner Yatuma, and I'm located in Bloomfield, Michigan.
Commissioner Adamini? Commissioner Adamini? Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, this is Commissioner Greg Johnson. I am physically located in Portland, Oregon.
Did I leave anybody off? Commissioner Adamini, have you joined us? I don't see your, let's see what happens there. The first thing I want to introduce is our friend who's sitting in Portland, Oregon right now, Greg Johnson, who is our newest commissioner, but the one with the most experience and has probably attended more meetings than any of us. Greg, you want to give a little intro to yourself?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Once again, my name is Greg Johnson. This is my 38th year in the transportation industry. I've started my career in the city of Battle Creek as a staff engineer. And after 6 years, came to work for the Michigan Department of Transportation. I worked there for 26 and a half years. Rising through the ranks from a frontline staff engineer up to chief engineer, deputy director. Retired from MDOT in 2015, went out and ran Maryland State Highway for a year and a half till my mom took sick, came back to Michigan in 2017, worked for 3 years for WSP. Large consulting firm, and just this past summer I made a job change. I took a position out here west with I'm technically an employee of Oregon DOT, but I serve both DOTs as I am the I-5 bridge program administrator, working to get a $3.4 billion bridge job underway. So I still maintain my residence in Michigan, and I'm in Michigan quite often. As a matter of fact, I was there last week to cast my vote. So I am still a rabid Wolverine fan, although we are not doing well this year. But I still have faith that we can turn things around. So other than that, I was a 30-year season ticket holder for the Lions until COVID hit. So that may disqualify me from any further academic positions, because people will know that my sense of who I root for may be a little skewed, but that's me in a nutshell. So my home is in Wixom, Michigan. I've been in my house there for 18 years.
Well, welcome. You are a wonderful addition to this commission, and we're glad to have you aboard. Next, we're going to turn it over to Vice Chairman Mike Hayes for some recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I beg your indulgence here for just a few minutes. This is something I really wanted to do, and hopefully a number of people around the call that I want to pay tribute to. And if they're not, hopefully word will get back to them. But in May of this year, my home area here in Midland, Gladwin County, Midland County, suffered an unbelievable flood. On May 17th, the rain started and 7 to 9 inches of rain fell in the surrounding areas, which just put a strain on the drainage systems up here. And Wixom Lake, which is a lake about 7 miles long and about a half mile wide, which is a reservoir held back by the Edenville Dam. The dam failed, and that lake drained in a matter of a couple of hours into the next lake in the chain, which is Sanford Lake. That was already busting at the seams as well. That's about a 6 mile long, half mile wide lake itself. That dam in Sanford, Michigan breached, and both lakes completely emptied in a matter of a couple of hours and went down the Tittabawassee River and ended up in downtown Midland and flooded out a great portion of the city of Midland, and then on down to northern Saginaw County, flooding out a great many homes in Saginaw County. Fortunately, we had a tremendous emergency services plan in this area and tremendous local responders who were able to evacuate 10,000 people very quickly, and we had 0 fatalities, which is kind of shocking in and of itself. But we ended up with basically 2 empty lakes, about 2,000 homes damaged or destroyed, businesses that have been permanently damaged or will be a long time rebuilding. We had more than 20 roads and bridges closed to traffic during the flood and immediately following the flooding and the dam breaches. The estimates of the infrastructure damage is well north of $100 million. But MDOT absolutely shined in this whole process, as did a number of MDOT people. MDOT had to quickly grant some emergency contracts to rebuild US 10 crossing over Sanford Lake, which was washed out. Those bridges that expressway is a main thoroughfare between I-75 and US 27, and that was completely washed out. The 2 contracts for M30 over the Tittabawassee River, and that was some $2.5 million, and $1.5 million of that was just to clean the debris. The city of Sanford had a Saginaw Road, which is the old US 10, completely washed out, and MDOT was engaged with the locals on that. The Curtis Road Bridge, a couple of bridges up in Aranac County that were also washed out from the heavy rains. And there's a tremendous amount of work just going on. But the maintenance and emergency responders from MDOT spent the entire night of the flood up to, and have spent countless hours since May, working with local road agencies and contractors to rebuild the infrastructure here, the road infrastructure, and local contractors. Just days after the flood, MDOT was able to secure a contract with Fisher Contracting to rebuild those bridges in US 10, and in a matter of weeks, those were completed to the point where we had a lane going in each direction, and eventually they've been partially restored now. I think there's still work to be done there, but having said all that and said it very quickly, and this could be a day-long lecture on all that happened, but I just want to single out a number of people. Kim Zimmer, there's the Associate Region Engineer for Operations here, just was this stellar leader. She coordinated all the emergency response, the coordination with FHWA, and all coordination with the locals. Jason Garza, Associate Region Engineer, coordinated many of the emergency contracts, including that US 10 one I mentioned. Paul Schieffer, the Regional Bridge Engineer, was hugely involved. Bill Mayhew from the Mount Pleasant TSC oversaw a lot, including a lot of the debris removal. Sean Bates from the Mount Pleasant TSC worked heavily on the inspection and coordination with the contractors on all the contracts. Corey Asola out of the Bay City, long hours inspecting the emergency contract work on all of the projects. Kim Hill out of Mount Pleasant oversaw the scoping contracts, study contracts, 2 design contracts. Jeremy Vandenberg coordinated the design of the 2 M30 bridges that are needed. Matt Chenoweth with the Bureau of Bridges and Structures conducted the field reviews, the inspection and scoping during the flooding and after. Colleen Pfeiffer, Emergency Management Coordinator, coordinated the emergency responses. Laura Dotson, and procurement and proper approvals were gained expeditiously through Laura's efforts. Jocelyn Hall, the communications was tremendous through this whole process, and Jocelyn was heavily involved in that. Some local or some contractors that need to be recognized too: Great Lakes Engineering, Spicer Engineering, ACOM, Fishbeck Consulting, and special shout out to Fisher Contracting for what they did. I just wanted to recognize these 12 people as they really exemplify the talent and commitment of our MDOT professionals. And I just wanted to say on behalf of a community that's been to hell and back this year, thank you to each one of you for everything you did to get us back in order here and help us to continue to function. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hayes. Mr. Director?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to address address you guys today. But before I start, Mr. Chair, if you can indulge me for a minute, we've had rash of crashes lately. Very, very unfortunate incidents. Last Saturday, I was woken by a text message about 2 very young construction workers on I-94 project in Ypsilanti. Can you guys hear me? It looks like my.
Yes, we can
hear you.
So
yeah, we can see you.
Two young construction workers on our I-94 patching project got killed by a drunk driver. This was around almost 2 a.m. in the morning. Very, very, very unfortunate incident, because these are the kind of young talents we are trying to attract into the industry, and to have such a major setback like that, I think it's going to take us years. And then another unfortunate incident, one of our employees struck a pedestrian in downtown Charlevoix, and the pedestrian soon passed away. So if you could indulge me a moment of silence to these lost souls, it would be very much appreciated, Mr. Chair.
Of course.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Hayes, for that shout out to employees. I was going to mention all the yeoman work that took place on that Midland project. I tell you, when you have such a very devastating incident like that to a community, I think MDOT is proving over the years, time and time again, that we step up and do our part to restore our infrastructure. And that's what we did here. I can't say enough. I think the commissioner said it very well. All the names he reeled off, and there's some more people that are not on that list that deserves a lot of credit too. But the credit goes to Matt Howard and Bob Rand for their leadership, and then everything filtered down from there. This was a very devastating incident where, the community was practically cut off. And when the governor visited, one of the things we mentioned to her, and she agreed, we need to restore mobility to this community as quickly as we can, and let's take out the MDOT and local line. We need to help them as much as we can because of the expertise that we have to make sure we restore mobility. And these guys, they responded, and we did that. So I want to echo Commissioner Hayes' shout out of these guys to say thank you for all that our team did over there to make this happen. So today, my presentation is going to be about a very exciting project that we launched in August. This was a project that had been in the works between the governor and Chairman Bill Ford for some time with sidewalk infrastructure. Then the spin-off of sidewalk infrastructure is Avenue. This is the first of its kind in the world. This is to designate a lane on Michigan Avenue between Detroit to Ann Arbor. On how do we look at road pricing in the future? Not just that, but using a CAV technology along that whole corridor to look at how do we build not just the roadway of the future. How does our roadway communicate with this new vehicle, but also to do a lot of research on various things. So this presentation is very short because I know the chair likes very short meetings. I'm just going to go through some slides to kind of share with you the basic concept of what the project is about, and I'll be glad to answer any questions. Next slide, please. So this is just an outline of what the corridor is going to be. As I mentioned, it's on US 12, it's Michigan Avenue from Detroit all the way to Ann Arbor and back. But this is not etched in stone. There may be some detour, along the way, but we're still working on that. But the point is that we're going to designate a lane out there for this. And this is going to be electric vehicles, connected autonomous vehicles, transit, shared ride users, just as I mentioned, to collect information on how these vehicles interact with each other and with the infrastructure. And I think the key part of this is also that it's just not MDOT and Ford, it's also the academia. University of Michigan is involved in this. We have M-City, we have American Center for Mobility. Those are controlled environment. So why don't we bring these vehicles out into a more real life situation and test them and see how they work. The beauty of this is also that again, credit to the Ford company, they are on the forefront of this, but they've always said this is not a Ford State of Michigan project. This is for all the OEMs. They realize they're in competition with each other, but to get better, everybody has to be a part of this. So this is going to be open to any qualified OEMs that wants to bring their product in there and test it and participate in this venture. We're very excited. There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes now to at least start the phase one of this. And I think over time, I'll be coming back to give you more updates on how we're doing on this. Next slide, please. This is just give you an idea of who all is involved in this. MDOT, obviously, we are at the forefront of this. We have sidewalk infrastructure partners, as I mentioned. Avenue, which is specifically for this project, It's a spin-off of sidewalk infrastructure. And as I mentioned, Ford Motor Company, University of Michigan, American Center for Mobility, because this route's going to go right in front of American Center for Mobility. WSP is doing all the preliminary design work. Miller Canfield, Latham Watkins, and then Middle Todd. So these are very, very strong partners that believe in this project and putting a lot of effort to bear to make this happen, because the eyes of the world are on us. We just cannot afford to fail on this one. Next slide, please. So this is what we envision it's going to look like. The physical infrastructure, as I mentioned, that's where we come in, is how a well-maintained roadway we're going to put a barrier that's separating this lane from other traffic. And as I mentioned, a lot of the infrastructure that's going to be supporting this roadway, like pavement markings, signs, signals, all that will be tailored strictly for that, as it's practically a research project. And we are going to be in the forefront of this. And then we're coordinating with all the OEMs. As to who decide who participates, we're still working that out. But I would say I'm not sure if you're aware. I believe earlier this year, before COVID hit, the governor created Office of Mobility. The idea of that office is to be able to leverage this kind of project, and that we are known to have the expertise in this area. But I think the governor's approach to this is, okay, and that you be the lead on the technical side, but we still need an area that will be able to capture the economic benefit of this. How do we make this more into a labor issue where we, use it to create jobs and economic growth to not just the local economy, but the state as a whole. So this Office of Mobility is helping us, working with us hand in hand to make this happen. It's the Office of Mobility is under the Labor and Economic Opportunity, LEO, but their focus is strictly more about this kind of projects or leveraging more OEMs to come into Michigan and get a foothold in Michigan. So again, this slide here is just kind of giving you an idea of what the vision is. Next slide, please. A classic intersection along that corridor. How do we design an intersection and signal that talks to these vehicles? And you have a progression through the corridor, signal preemption, as far as transit is concerned. So a lot of this is going to be very exciting over time. I think we're going to be collecting a lot of data. We're going to, as time goes on, some of the information we're collecting, it's going to go in some of these vehicles, and we're also going to be using them to try and design the signals of the future, or the intersection of the future. So this is just to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at down the road. Next slide, please. Again, this is the project will continue. These are some of our stakeholders. I've mentioned Ford, City of Detroit, Wayne County, Spark is very, very involved in this, and Regional Transit Authority, because part of this project is also going to be ride sharing and transit being a part of using that lane to see what data we can collect from that. Next slide, please. So this is just a slide that CAVNIO, part of our agreement is to always, I mean, you can't read it. It's like trying to apply for a credit card and you're trying to read all the little fine prints. But if anybody wants a full copy of it, we can get it to you. But part of our agreement is that when we make this presentation, we have to share this with the public too. There's a lot of disclaimer in there that and a lot of legal language that I obviously cannot read out right now. But if you need a copy, I'll be more than happy to share with you. So with that, I will open up for any questions, Mr. Chair. Again, thank you for giving me the time to share this with the board.
Commissioners, any questions? Mike, we can't hear you. Still can't hear you. You seem maybe even to be frozen. No, you're not frozen, but we cannot hear you. Can everyone else hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
How's that? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, just a quick question, Mr. Director. I don't know if I heard it, but what's the time frame on all this?
As I mentioned, the preliminary planning is going on behind the scenes right now. I think the first next 6 months we'll see probably the first phase of this being out there. Again, it plus or minus, but the full build out, I think that's going to take some time because there's a lot of stakeholder engagement that needs to take place, but it's a lot of work going on behind the scenes.
So this is years.
I will venture to say by the time we finish the full build out, it could take about a year or more.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions or comments?
I have a question, Mr. Chair. Morning, Director. Is there involvement from the airport? Is there going to be any interaction with the airport with this facility?
As I mentioned, there's a lot of stakeholder engagement going on right now. Even like Eastern Michigan and several major employers along that corridor are going to be brought in as part of the discussion moving forward. I would mind RTA being a major stakeholder. We'll probably bring in the airport authority at some point. Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, this is Tony Cradafil. I was to elaborate a little on the director's response to Commissioner Hayes. There's kind of two phases to this project, and the first phase is about 24 months long to kind of develop the concept, do some of the testing that the director was talking about. But full implementation would happen with a subsequent agreement after that. And it really just depends on what the final concepts are as to how long that would take to implement.
Thank you, Tony.
All right, any other questions or comments from the commissioners? Hi, Callan. Cannot hear you.
Sorry about that. I maybe missed it, but how many miles is this project?
It's roughly 40 miles.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to add, I'm sure what everybody else is thinking, just agreement with you, Director, how exciting the project is. So looking forward to that. It's great to see MDOT continue to innovate and lead the world in a lot of these exciting things.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, we will proceed on to commission business. The first is the approval of the minutes of July 23rd, 2020. Does anybody have any changes, questions, or comments?
I move approval, Mr. Chairman.
I hear that. We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody wish to vote against or abstain? All right, Troy, want to take us on to the TAM appointments?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of the Transportation Asset Management Council, we need approval and a motion by the commission for reappointment of Bill McAtee from the County Road Association of Michigan to the Transportation Asset Management Council. So I'd request a motion and a vote on that motion, please, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions or comments for Troy? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll move.
All right, thank you, Greg. And seconded by Vice Chair Hayes. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody wish to vote against or abstain? Motion passes. The proposed 2021 public meeting schedule, January 21st, April 22nd, July 22nd, and October 21st. Those will be our regularly scheduled meetings. And of course, if we need something to be specially scheduled, we can always do so. Any questions or comments? All right, hearing none, I intend a motion.
I'll move approval of that scheduled for 2021.
Thank you, Commissioner Hayes. Any second?
Second. I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Zerup. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anybody wish to vote against or abstain? All right, that passes. Jack, how about an update?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners, Director Adjournment, everybody. So OCA has continued its efforts, nearly unaffected by the pandemic. I and many others miss seeing our colleagues on a day-to-day basis, and I miss the positive relationships that the face-to-face communications bring about. Fortunately, several years ago, OCA's communication structure has gravitated toward virtual interaction, and the work-from-home concept was a direction towards which we were already headed. I'd estimate that 98% of the documentation that we deal with, as a matter of course, is provided to us electronically. There are a few straggler agencies who still use paper in their day-to-day efforts. And so electronic communication and documentation are very important in terms of efficiency and effectiveness of what we do and how we do it. However, as auditors, it is critical that we're able to meet face-to-face when sensitive topics arise, excuse me, such as suspected improprieties. If such suspicions occur, we make arrangements for face-to-face meetings. Kind of answers the question is how can auditors audit from home? Well, it's kind of where we've been headed for a long time from an efficiency standpoint. So on the topic of documentation, about 25 years ago, many state of Michigan auditors began using a software that was specifically developed for auditors as they document their efforts and as they attempt to address the natural churn of employees at CPA firms. And while software existed at OCA as an option when I arrived, I subsequently required that all projects use it. It's been several years since a project was performed and documented outside of the software. The documentation aspects of the software are amazing, but luckily for you, I'm not going to go into those aspects today because I'm fairly doubtful that documentation would be a riveting topic, as much of auditing probably isn't riveting. However, an outstanding aspect of the documentation also includes our ability to fight off the effects of employee turnover and increase the effectiveness of employee training. The memories of how we do, what we do, and why we do it are forever ingrained in our project working papers. They call that knowledge management here for the last 10 years or so, this era. But the software we've used has recognized the need for knowledge management for nearly 30 years. It allows OCA to continue onward and upward in our daily and weekly and monthly and annual efforts. So speaking of which, OCA's efforts over the last several months have been generally routine. Among our activities, we have continued to review the costs of our many grantees and vendors. We have maintained a fairly quick turnaround on our efforts to advise on contract language and vendor proposals. We've timely provided recommendations regarding financial prequalifications for more than 100 engineering vendors, and we have provided our thoughts for MDOT's consideration on risks, which MDOT was curious about or came to our attention by way of our other activities. So if there are any questions, it would be my pleasure to try to answer them.
Any commissioners have any questions or comments? All right, we'll move on. Before we get to the public comments, is just a few things I want to interject, as this is our second meeting, not in person, meeting virtually. I think the act expires in January, Troy, if I'm not wrong, January 4th or something.
Correct. It's at the end of the year, beginning of next year. Correct.
and we'll see if they extend it. But begging your indulgence, I have no intention of having this body meet in person during a pandemic unless logic it dictates so. That is how I intend to continue to operate. We'll see what the legislature and the governor allow us to do, but I don't wish to put anybody in harm's way, and I hope you can all understand that, and I think you probably all share the same sentiment. Second, I'm going to ask Jeff Cranston to send out a YouTube video on the 496 project, which I think there was some sort of ceremony, or maybe it was virtual a couple of days ago. It's the first bonding and finance project, and I think everyone will find the YouTube video interesting. Does anybody else have any comments before we get to the public comment section? All right. I'm going to let Troy handle the public comment section because I'm not sure how it works. So Troy, would you take that over?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Do we have any members of the public that would like to provide comment to the State Transportation Commission at today's November 12th meeting? Going once, going twice. Okay, Mr. Chairman, at this time, we do not have any members of the public that would like to offer comment to the commission, so we can move on to adjournment.
All right, we're going to take a motion to adjourn, and right now we're scheduled to meet on January 21st. But again, if we do not have a extension of the act or something else, don't count on it. Motion to adjourn from anyone?
Just a clarification, Mr. Chairman, you meant don't count on it in person.
Don't count it. If they don't extend an act and we can't meet virtually, don't count on having a meeting at all.
Got it.
I move it. Yeah, I have no adjournment in putting us all in the same room, even with masks and the MDOT employees. We're not that important.
I totally support that. And with that, I'll move adjournment.
Second?
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Please stay safe and have a wonderful day.